What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Super Peter OK here. And yeah, UFC 290. Gonna do my picks and predictions. Um, I'm much more familiar with a few of the names on here, so won't be as hard as the last prediction video we did on UFC Apex Fight Night Strickland versus Magomedov. So we got UFC 290, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, United States, Saturday, July 8th. Pretty excited about it. All right, we start off with the early prelims. Camuela Kirk from the U.S. versus Esteban Ribovics, Argentina. No, almost said Australia. Um, but this does, not gonna lie, this does feel like a Australia card. But I think I've seen both of these guys fight at least once before. 12-5 versus 11-1. Um, but I would give the advantage to Esteban Ribovics. Even though Camuela Kirk has the experience, I'm going to go with the upset on this one. Esteban Ribovics, TKO, third round. Okay, next fight we have in the flyweight division, Aussie's own Shannon Ross versus Mexico's own Jesus Aguilar. Alright, so for this one, sorry about that. So Shannon definitely has the experience, but he does have 7 losses, 13 wins, 7 losses against Aguilar's 8-2. I've seen Aguilar fight before. Both coming off losses, but I would say Jesus has that killer instinct, has that finishing ability. So I got him by stoppage as well. Second round. Okay, next one we have from South Africa, Cameron Simon, bantamweight division versus Terrence Mitchell. I'm guessing this guy's making his debut because I haven't seen or heard of him before. But Cameron Simon, I have seen him fight. 8-0, got sort of a come from behind knockout victory in his last fight. Um, so I got him by stoppage, second round. Easy money there. All right, light heavyweights. We have from Brazil, Vitor Vitrino versus Marcin Prachinio from Poland. Big boys. Got 8-0 versus 16-6-0. These guys would be better suited for heavyweight too, I'd imagine, because of their height. But the reach sort of makes it a little. Seems like the stats are in Vitor's favor, but he doesn't have the same experience as Marcin does. Let's look at some X factors. Well, they both like to finish fights by knockout. Average fight time, knockdown average. It's looking like Marcin. I'm gonna get him by dominant decision over the course of 3 rounds. Next one, the beginning of the early prelims. We almost lost Tatsuro Taira, the undefeated Japanese prospect, 13-0, I believe, against a newcomer stepping in on short notice, Edgar Chairez. 13-0, 10-4. Japan versus Mexico. It was like a World Cup matchup. But easy money. Feel bad for Edgar, but he's kind of being brought into the slaughter to retire by whatever he wants. First round, I'm going to say triangle choke. Next one. Ooh, this is a good one. Another banger right here. Light heavyweights, Jimmy Crute from Australia versus Alonzo Menefield from the U.S. I forget what part of the U.S. he's from, but yeah. Both guys love to bang. And was their last fight against each other and it was a draw? Because they both say draw. That's what I'm thinking went down. But Crute, very explosive, but he leaves himself far too open. But he does have the tools to make this very interesting. However, I'm going to go with Alonzo Menefield by knockout, third round, or maybe late into the second round. Because Crute just has some bad habits that do not go away, or that he hasn't let go of. Oof, we got another banger in the women's strawweight division. Yasmin Jauregui from Mexico versus Denise Gomes from Brazil. I would say Gomez, but it's Gomes. So I've seen Yasmin fight before. I remember her debut was a banger, and she can scrap with the best of them. So she is. I love her boxing. I love her in and out of the movement. How she strikes in the pocket. It's beautiful to watch. And again, I'm not too familiar with Denise. However, I'm gonna go with Yasmin Jauregui by stoppage. I'd say second round. This will be a banger for however long it lasts. Oof, this is now we're getting into really, really great fight territory. The nose, Jack Della Maddalena from Australia, welterweights versus Josiah Harrell. I think from what I've looked up, Josiah Harrell, and he fights in lightweight, so he's moving up for this one because he's 5'7". He's a bit smaller. He's one of Matt Brown's training partners. His nickname is the Muscle Hamster. So I forgot who Jack Della was originally supposed to fight, but he was offered Joaquin Buckley. Buckley turned it down, and Jack's like, okay, let's do it to 185, Mike. And, you know, Buckley got out of that. He didn't want any part of that. Who would, right? And then Chris Curtis offered to step in and fight Jack, but the UFC brass nixed that idea. I think that would have been an excellent fight. And I don't know why Jack is on the prelims, man. You can definitely put this guy on the main card. Like, he's must watch. You cannot miss his fights. The most dangerous, the most precise boxing, probably in the UFC, I would say. Just no wasted movement. Everything thrown with intention. His feints, his setups. It's amazing to watch. And Josiah Harrell, I know he's 7-0, and all of his fights are finishes, but against question mark competition, and he's taking it on a couple days' notice. I gotta go with JDM. Knockout first round. This is gonna be nasty. It's not gonna do much for his ranking or anything like that, but the fans are gonna get an excellent show. So JDM by whatever he wants, first round. Oh man, this one, heavy heart on this one. Ruthless Robbie Lawler from the U.S. versus Nico Price from the U.S. Man, this one is Robbie Lawler's retirement fight, bro. So I am very, very sad about this one. 29-16-0 with one no contest versus Nico Price's 15-6-0 with two no contests. They're both coming off losses. I believe Nico's was to Phil Hawes. Or Phil Rowe, I'm sorry. Phil Hawes is the middleweight. Phil Rowe is the welterweight. My bad. Yeah, that was back and forth. Looked like he was coming back and then sort of gassed out. Both these guys are shot, but Robbie's been shot for a lot longer than Nico has. And I feel like Nico is just going to do nasty things to him. It's going to be a nasty first round with maybe a little bit of glimmer of hope in Robbie in the first round. Then in the second round, Nico's just going to tear him up with elbows, knees in the clinch, elbow, elbow, elbow. It's going to be similar to the Brian Barberena fight, but a lot more one-sided. So it's with a hit. My heart wants Robbie to end his last fight ever that we get to see him with a knockout, but Nico Price, TKO up against the cage, bloody elbows, stoppage. Okay, now we are. Would this be the main card? Yes, it would. Okay, so we got the main card opener, Bo Nickel, the Carson Wentz of the UFC. He looks like Carson Wentz, former Eagles quarterback, Philadelphia, versus Val Woodburn. I think they were saying this guy was like undefeated. It's another case of it doesn't really help Bo Nichols ranking wise, if he's even ranked. I don't think he's ranked. But it does boost his stock a little bit, gets his name out there. But if he struggles against someone that the UFC hasn't seen or the fans don't know, it will hurt his mystique a little bit. But I got Bo by submission, first or second round. Second round. Because this guy is Brazilian undefeated. I don't know his takedown defense, but I know he's a knockout artist. Decent pop in his punches. So, Bo by whatever he wants. Next fight, Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker. We know what we get from a Dan Hooker fight. You got a tough, lanky welterweight. Or did he drop back down to lightweight? Lightweight. Then he went to featherweight, then he went back up to lightweight. 22-12 versus 14-6 Jalen Turner, but Jalen has been on a streak, and even when he lost to who did he fight his last fight? Mateus Gamrot, and yeah, he put on a good show, and he arguably could have won that fight, but he let it slip. Got taken down a little bit too much. Got controlled a little bit too long in the fight. So Curtis uh, couldn't win that one, but he's right up there against the best of the best. And Dan has sort of been blown out of the water a lot lately, and yeah, the old Dan Hooker that was knocking out Gilbert Burns, it seems like it's long gone. He lost to Arnold Allen. There was a point in that fight where he could have won, landed a great counter, but he gets overwhelmed now. He doesn't have an answer, and he sort of folds. So, and looking at the reach, it is kind of close, but Jalen is just so deadly, especially those first two rounds. If Hooker can somehow survive those first two rounds, it might be a bit easier for him. He might still lose a decision, but smart money is on Jalen Turner. I got him by knockout, second round. I feel like Dan's going to hang in there the first round a little bit, and then it's might be danger to getting stopped. Then the second round he gets stopped. Then it doesn't help that he dyed his hair blonde, so that blood is just he's gonna be a redhead after Saturday night. All right, the third top fight: Robert Whittaker, the number 2 in the middleweight division, versus Dricus du Plessis from South Africa, a real African champion. Okay, people are gonna say, what is the hype behind Dricus du Plessis? He beat a washed-up Derek Brunson. He decision Brad Tavares. He beat up an unmotivated Darren Till. I feel like these were all fights he was supposed to lose. Like, it's weird. He has cardio issues, but yet he doesn't. It's just part of his style. Lanky, gangly, awkward style, but somehow he's made it work for him. Against Robert Whittaker, I feel like this is going to be a big mismatch. Whittaker's just going to outclass him on the feet, outcondition him, outgrapple him. Outside of a opening flurry, I don't see how Dricus can beat Robert Whittaker. I really don't. But again, this MMA, anything can happen. I got Whittaker by whatever he wants, and I'm going to say it's going to end in the third round, second or third round. I think he wants to drag Dricus into deep waters, get him tired, then put the kibosh on him late into the fight. Because Dricus, for as good as his winning streak looks, in hindsight, it's not all that impressive. I mean, it's great that he's gotten wins and victories, but I see a lot of holes, as a certain Kevin Lee would say. I see a lot of holes in Dricus' game, and they just haven't been capitalized upon yet, and Whittaker's the guy to do that. But do I want to see him fight Israel Adesanya again in the trilogy? No, I do not. So would it shake things up for Dricus? Yes, but would he be able to beat Izzy? I don't know. But I got Whittaker. Either dominant decision or he finishes Dricus late. Alright, the flyweight title fight. This one is very, very interesting. Brandon Moreno from Mexico versus Alexandre Pantoja from Brazil. This is actually the third time they fight. So this is the unofficial trilogy between the two. Brandon has definitely gotten better since they first fought in the Tough House. Doesn't count on their records. Counts as an exhibition. And Pantoja, he submitted Brandon Moreno, but it was the number 1 seed versus the number 16. And then fast forward a couple years, they're both in the UFC. Pantoja sort of beats up Brandon, 29-28, unanimous decision. And then somehow Pantoja has not ended up being a champion, and Brandon has. So it shows you that Brandon has leveled up his game. And I believe Alexandre is coming off quite a long layoff. He is coming off a win, but he's been off quite a bit. He's a brawler. He's tightened it up a little bit, but he's still pretty much a brawler, like an unrefined version of Davison Figueiredo, who he lost to, but he gave him a good fight. Against Brandon Moreno, I would say Moreno, since it is 5 rounds. But if this was a 3-rounder, I would give the advantage to Alexandre. I feel like Brandon is just going to be too tricky. He's going to be mixing it up. He's going to mix in his trip takedowns, his judo tosses, mixed in with slight ground and pound scrambles, standing back up, his slip jab that he likes to throw. I feel like it's gonna frustrate Alexandre, and he's gonna be on the receiving end of it. He's gonna be trying to come back later. Maybe he'll have a good round or two, but I feel like Brandon is just gonna dominate him in decision. Could be wrong, but I feel like smart money is on Brandon Moreno, unanimous decision, with one or two close rounds. And the main event for the featherweight title could be Alexander Volkanovski's last fight at featherweight before he moves up. And Yair, the interim featherweight champion, after he triangle choked Josh Emmett, pretty much destroyed him on the feet. This one I feel, because it would appear that Volkanovski has a lot of disadvantages, which he does, but I feel like he is the answer that Rodriguez has never really had to address too much in the UFC outside of a Frankie Edgar loss, but the wrestling. I mean, even against his fight against his rematch against Jeremy Stephens, he got out grappled against the guy that was hurt, and Stephens is not known for being a wrestler. I feel like Volkanovski will capitalize, and he will utilize that and land some nasty ground and pound. Of course, there's going to be dangers of triangle chokes and arm bars from full guard from Yair, but I feel like Volkanovski is just going to tear him up. I feel like he's going to stop Yair maybe fourth round, third round. It's going to be grimy. It's going to be grindy. People are going to boo, but Volk's going to get it done. And Yair's going to be, anytime they're on the feet, he's going to be throwing wild, crazy shit. I feel like he's going to be throwing tornado kicks, up kicks, rolling thunder kicks. He's going to be trying desperately. It's not going to be early on, but come the second, come the third, come the fourth, anytime they're on the feet or if they get restarted up for whatever reason, I feel like they won't, because Alex will keep busy. On top, we saw what he did to Brian Ortega, and Ortega has a much better ground game, offensively, defensively, than Yair does. But I feel like Yair's length is going to present those opportunities. But will he capitalize? I don't think so. If Ortega couldn't do it, I don't know how Yair can do it. So I got Volkanovski dominant decision or a late stoppage. So yep, guys, those are my predictions for UFC 290. Hopefully y'all watch the fights, however you're going to watch them. Enjoy the show. It should be a great night. And I will see y'all on the next one. Later.